The 80s, what a decade for romantic comedy.
We've seen throughout that decade what it could offer from the likes of The Secret of My Success, with Michael J. Fox and Helen Slater could entertain the audience with, and the likes of Tom Cruise with that dance strut in Risky Business, which has since entered pop culture status that was even referenced in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Garfield of all things. In the same year as The Secret of My Success, there was another romantic comedy that had a similar premise of a guy going from rags to riches, but this had a more fantasy twist, in which a former mannequin model maker becomes a store executive and having a relationship with a mannequin that he built that comes to life.
No, I am not making this up.
Along with a great ensemble cast from Kim Cattrall, Estelle Getty, James Spader, and G.W. Bailey of Police Academy fame, James McCarthy would lead this lineup.
Has this held up in the 35 years since its 1987 release, or will this feel wooden like a mannequin? Let's find out as we revisit Mannequin. This movie has what I like to think of as charming innocence, in the context of everyone could watch this and get something out of it. And I say innocence because, well, I'm just going to call this spade for spade. There are some exaggerated stereotypes that were used back in the day that was seen as okay, but looks cringy by comparison today. But before we get to the meat of that, let's see what works for the movie.
We meet John Switcher at the start of the movie as kind of a goofball with a lot of imagination and talent to his credit, but he tends to let himself get too caught up in the moment. This in turn leads to his first firing, where he is constructing his mannequin that he's a little obsessed with, and that he subsequently gets fired from other jobs ranging from a waiter, a chef, and a family entertainer. His latest job, Prince & Company department store, the same store he sees his mannequin in the store window. He pretty much gets a job in the same fashion as he got fired from. By accident.
Young man, what's your name?
My name, Jonathan Switzer.
You're hired.
Thank you. My lucky day.
I guess it was a shock to the system.
Things haven't been going well for Prince & Company, as their sales were dwindling compared to Illustra, that are a rival department store who have secretly implanted Mr. Richards to sabotage the company so it can be bought. And Richards is what you'd expect of a smarmy, slimy 80s a-hole executive. He's a typical smarmy, slimy 80s a-hole executive.
He's basically a guy with a punchable face. Anyone could walk in and go, I don't know why, but I hate you.
And you don't feel sympathy for this guy at all throughout the picture. He does pretty much everything he can to make John's life difficult.
This is sounding awfully similar to The Secret of My Success.
There are similarities with regards to the rags to riches pattern, how a guy starts out with nothing and gets riches. The difference is John isn't rolling in money by the end, he's rolling in love. And also, this came out in February of '87 and the former came out in April of that year.
And in all this, I haven't talked about the title character, Emmy.
Emmy's story begins before the opening credits as an Egyptian hiding from the event of an arranged marriage.
Even at the start of the movie, with quirky subtitles like that, you could see what direction this movie was going in.
Emmy comes to life in front of John when no one else is around, and what transpires is what you'd expect.
What's the matter? Don't you like your new scarf?
Not especially.
I mean, wouldn't you? That'd be like your collectible Sonic figure coming to life. I'm watching you.
From that point on, Emmy pretty much acts as John's muse, helping him become a sensation with the window box with the other mannequins and their attire to draw more customers to the store, which in turn elevates his progression in being promoted to Visual Merchandise Officer, for want of a better title. The way it works is that the gods only give life to Emmy in her mannequin body when her and John are unobserved, otherwise she's a mannequin.
It does make me wonder what the unobserved puppets were like on the set of Thunderbirds back in the day.
At night, John and Emmy would create rather eye-catching displays that would draw crowds back to the store, saving the company from bankruptcy and turning a profit for the first time in years. This in turn has Roxy, John's ex-girlfriend, who's working at Illustra trying to sway him to her store, and he's not interested. Around this time, she's with Armand, who could not be any more of a stereotype if he tried.
He's basically a discount Tony Manero. The only difference is John Travolta has talent.
Hey, Roxy, you look foxy. Can I ride you?
I'll be walking to work, thank you.
Oh, no. Don't be silly. Don't be silly.
And you know when I said he's a stereotype? Well...
Can I show you something in your size?
And speaking of stereotypes...
Hollywood Montrose. Doesn't it just sing?
Meet Hollywood.
Shake that thing!
Great, I want you to meet somebody. This is me.
Very nice. Maybe I can get G.I. Joe and we can double sometime.
Jeez. If this guy was any more flamboyant, David Bowie would have sued for gimmick infringement.
Hollywood is one of the comic reliefs of this story, and he acts as someone to break the tension where need be, and he's unaware that he's John's partner in crime for most of the stuff he and Emmy get up to.
And speaking of comic relief, say hello to Captain Maxwell.
This is basically Bailey's role as Lieutenant Thaddeus from Police Academy, but now as a security guard, and as amusing as he is, his performance doesn't do anything to distinguish himself from his Harris role.
Dude, have you heard about this concept called range?
A couple of moments that I found amusing but equally cringy are the following.
Rambo?
Yeah. I call him that because he likes to draw first blood. Terminator. Lunchtime.
You'd think I'd be okay with this, but no.
He's basically Richard's lackey and by extension, BJ, who's the owner of Illustra, who's trying to sabotage Prince and John and Emmy's efforts, of which I think the audience spoke through her.
That is it. No more of this surveillance crap.
Well, you know what they say. Actions speak louder than words.
Probably the most satisfying payoff of the flick was seeing Emmy come to life after John saves her from the wood chipper that Roxy had dumped her in, and the janitor decides to get him some as well.
Oh! Okay, people, I appreciate it's an innocent moment, but in today's climate, that will be frowned upon.
In summary, guy gets girl, guy gets major promotion, and gets married, and all's well that ends well.
You know what? For 90 minutes, it's a charming treasure.
You know him as a member of the Brat Pack, a nickname given to young and up-and-comers in the 1980s. You've seen him in St. Elmo's Fire and Pretty in Pink alongside John Cryer as Ducky, Molly Ringwald, and of Ghostbusters fame, Annie Potts. What Andrew brings to the role of John is someone with a lot of heart, imagination, energy, and likability very similar to that of Michael J. Fox, who is riding his own lightning bolt after being in 1985's mega hit, Back to the Future. It did make me wonder if the makers were looking for someone who had Michael's qualities.
He's got great chemistry with Kim Cattrall and Estelle Getty, and they both seem to have a great rapport with him.
You know her as Samantha Jones in HBO's Sex and the City, and for those young enough to remember, she played the role of Dr. Gabriel White opposite Bill Bixby's David Banner in the live-action Incredible Hulk series. Kim makes Emmy feel warm, pleasant, with spirited innocence. She is amazed by all of what was modern 1987, from fashion to music, and she plays off of Andrew flawlessly, to where you could be forgiven for mistaking them for a real couple.
Little walk down memory lane. You know this lady best as Sophia Petrillo, the very sassy mother to the equally sassy Blanche from the Golden Girls. But in this, she's as sweet and pleasant as apple pie.
Every scene with her is just a delight, as she has this wonderful grandmotherly warmth about her.
Miss Timken, those video cameras, did they pick up everything last night?
I only saw what I needed to see.
The late Taylor plays Hollywood Montrose so well that you could be mistaken for thinking that this was just him being an extension of himself. But if an actor can convince you otherwise, job well done. When you hear him as Ultron in Avengers 2 or to when he was in Wolf, these seem like such a far cry from when he plays a smarmy 80s executive. But that just shows you how far he's come. You know an actor is doing their job when you have them hating you. For the less screen time compared to her other cast members, she puts in a good performance as the jealous ex-girlfriend. If Spader played his role well as being a smarmy executive, then this guy plays his role way too well as an exaggerated stereotype. From the Tony Manero haircut and leather jacket to the bedroom furniture and gold chain.
Yeah, I think someone should have had a talk with Armand in the movie that the 70s were over.
You know him best as Lieutenant Captain Thaddeus Harris in the Police Academy films, and that's basically who he's playing in this. He does his job well, but there's no range. Had they cast someone else, the audience might have had less problems because there wouldn't be that similarity issue.
Sylvester LeVay composed the score for the movie.
His credits include being the arranger for 1983's Scarface, Cobra, 1991's Hot Shots, and he was part of the Airwolf series from 1984 to 86. The score is typical for what you'd expect from an 80s romantic comedy with a keyboard, but I think that adds charm to it. Especially the John and Emmy scenes where they're acting out role-play fantasies from the roaring 20s, rockin' 50s to what was the modern 1980s.
His score really helps to give the movie life, especially in the penultimate scene where John saves Emmy from being wood-chipped.
And accompanying the soundtrack to the movie is Starship's iconic 1987 Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, which plays at the wedding at the end of the movie. And like the story of John and Emmy, there's a charming innocence that is also reflected in the music video with footage intercut from the movie.
Like with the movie, the score is charming.
Mannequin grossed a profit of $42.7 million against a budget of $7.5 million. Add in 35 years of inflation and it would be worth $107 million in 2022. The movie opened at number 3 behind Platoon and Outrageous Fortune, taking in $6 million over the 4-day President's Day weekend. Dan MacLeod of the Philadelphia Magazine wrote, "The message of Mannequin, clumsy as it is that the greatest place and time in recorded history is 1980s Philadelphia. Truly, this is the most uplifting film ever made about the city." Despite some harsh critiques of the movie, especially from Roger Ebert, who gave it half a star, the movie took in a strong profit and made a sequel in 1991's Mannequin 2, On the Move. Suffice to say, the sequel took less money than its predecessor of $3.8 million off a $1.3 million budget. There have been talks about a remake where the main lead would have a crush on a hologram as opposed to a mannequin. It was talked about in 2010 and nothing has been made public since then.
Since 1987, the movie has been enjoyed on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, and Blu-ray. I'm MJ Knight, and this was Mannequin. Well, you know what they say, actions speak louder than words. Just ask Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's a good outtake, actually. Ooh, see, people, this would be heavily frowned upon today. I appreciate it's an innocent moment, but in today's climate, no, no. Raiden, bruh, you might not want to do that, ooh, no. Raiden's gonna be like, oh, come on, dude, I don't talk like that. It's like, everyone else like, really now? Okay.